Hey guys, it is June 7th of 2015, and that means that yesterday marked 10 months on testosterone for me. Yay! So, long time no talk. It's been a very fast-moving couple of months since I last did a video in March. Actually was just looking at that. I thought it was really amusing that, like, every time I do these videos now my hair is drastically different. Probably won't be changing so drastically for next time, but, anyways, so I have a little list here of all the things I want to cover, so hopefully I'll keep to it okay and not ramble too much. So we're gonna jump right in with the physical changes that have happened since 7 months. Not a lot more in the facial hair department, but body hair has kind of slowly been filling in. It's one of those things that you don't really notice until you notice, if that makes sense. Because it's such a subtle process, but there's definitely more on my stomach, there's a little bit growing into my chest. I think it was a couple weeks ago, I tried to like brush a hair off my shoulder and I found it was actually attached. So not all of it is growing in places that I expect. And it's not growing in very uniformly yet, so we'll see how that actually develops, and hopefully by the time that I'm able to not have a shirt on, it won't look so awkward and patchy. Um, Next up that I wanted to discuss was weight distribution and muscle mass. After I noticed that, my muscle was kind of growing on its own, I was like, oh, maybe I should help it along because I do want more muscles. So I invested in one of those like over-the-door gym pull-up bars, and it is really, really satisfying to have my muscle adapt so quickly to such exercises, where it couldn't when I didn't have so much testosterone in my body. So if you don't mind me showing this off, I have gained a little mass in my arms from actively trying, and I'm very happy for it, to have it in time for me to be wearing tank tops and stuff for summer. And in terms of wearing less covering clothing for summer, I've also become aware of the body weight redistribution that has happened, and definitely in like my abdominal area especially. It has not changed like super drastically, like I definitely still have a bit more of an hourglass shape, because I did have like a very, I don't want to say severe hourglass, it doesn't seem like the appropriate word, um, but a very obviously hourglass shape beforehand, and now it's kind of like evening out a little more, and hopefully it will continue to do so as time passes. So other physical changes I have not I was gonna say the only other thing that I've really noticed is that my hairline has definitely changed. My widow's peak is a little more obvious, and then in the sides I have this whole thing going on, which I thought looked really cool. I actually first noticed it when I was at Anime Boston, I want to say, because I was getting my wig on, and I had my friends in the other room, and I like went running out, and I was like, oh my god, guys, my hairline's definitely different, and like I thought it was really exciting. They didn't really think so, but that's alright. So I think that was all I needed to cover for body changes related to testosterone. So I wanted to kind of follow up on a couple of things that I was talking about in my 7 months video. First of all is the passport thing. I did not get that resolved in time to go to England, so I did not go to England. Um, I stayed home and worked and had my boyfriend over instead, so it was alright. And I did end up getting my passport in like a couple days after the rest of my family had returned from the trip. And one of the things that I thought worth mentioning was it was like a temporary passport, because it did say mail on it, because I did get all my paperwork in eventually, finally, after some struggling with my primary care person to get, they needed like really specific wording in the letter that they got, and I didn't get that wording correct the first time, and it was a struggle to kind of get it correct in the end, and so what it was they gave me, it's supposed to be temporary, it's supposed to, it lasts like 2 years, but you have to replace your passport every couple of years anyways. But what bothers me is that it's only temporary because my transition is in progress, because it's not complete up to their standards. I don't even know what their standards are. They didn't like, I don't know, I'm really incredibly frustrated and annoyed by the fact that they like label that, because like some people are not going to complete a transition to a political standard. Political is like the best word that I can think of to describe it. And like, how are they ever going to be able to get a like, I don't know. I'm just really upset and angry and annoyed about it. I don't need my passport anytime soon, so I'm not fighting that battle right now. But, gosh, alright, so successful, or slightly more successful anyways, stories relating to, gender stuff. I'm so sorry, I keep playing with my hair. Was, okay, so at work I work with elementary school age children, and so I had just come out at like the beginning of the session that was starting, and now the session is like ending. But one of the classes that I had some kids that I had had in the previous session, so I had some kids for the spring session that I had had in the fall session. And those kids had never asked me in the fall session what my gender was, but they assumed I was female. Um, and so there was like this one week in the spring class that one of the kids happened to ask in front of everybody if I was a boy or girl, and so I answered that I was a boy. And some of the kids that had been in the class before were like, "No, you're not," and just came up with all these arguments of why I wasn't a boy and what it was about me that didn't make me that made me a girl instead of a boy. And like I I have to end the conversation because there's so much that like it's not part of my job to have that conversation. And like, publicly, I don't know. I mean, it should be. I really wish that I could, like, set a class aside and just talk about this instead, but my job as an after-school instructor is much more confined, basically. But, a little, like, every once in a while this would come up, and, like, one of the kids would feel the need, the desire, etc., to, speak up in front of the class and, like, make a big deal out of the fact that I thought I was a boy, or I kept saying I was a boy, but I wasn't really a boy, I was actually a girl because this, and this. And so one day I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And I like had the rest of the kids doing something else, and I called one of the biggest speakers about it over and had like this quiet conversation with him in the back of the room. And I was like, hey, you know, I really want to know why you think it's so important for you to tell me that I'm not a boy. Why do you keep telling me I'm a girl? And he just like went super blank faced and like had no idea what to say. And I was like, why do you think it's important? He's like, it's not important. I'm like, then why do you keep saying it? He's like, I don't know. And so I'm like, do you want to hurt my feelings? Because that's what you're doing, you're hurting my feelings. And he's like, no, no. And I don't know, it was a really good conversation. He never said like anything about it again. And like, I think there's something really to take away from that because kids are a lot more open-minded than you think. And it is a lot easier to have these conversations than you think they are as long as, I don't know. I mean, it's really tough because some people don't know how to work with children, but really they're just small people. they're smaller people. They think the same ways as adults, and it's really great because a lot of times they're actually more open-minded than adults because they don't have like all the life experience to set these certain things in their head, and they're a lot more malleable seems like the wrong word, but I don't know, I'm much more confident about talking to children about that fact in the future, like, if you feel the need to do this, why do you feel the need to do this, etc., 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 and making them try and think about it and figure out their reasoning for it and everything is a big deal, because they can decide for themselves to change it instead of you just saying, hey, don't do this. Like, if they can think of why, etc., then it kind of embeds this a little better in their nervous system thinking. So moving on from that, because I had a couple more things I want to get to. So those modeling classes that I was supposed to start, I did not start them on time for a number of reasons. Schedule filled up, monetary reasons, etc., etc., so I ended up putting them off, and I'm not going to be starting them until the end of this month now. And, so that's a thing. And another super big thing, really exciting, is, in therapy, I had talked with my therapist a couple months back, and we had been talking about, you know, next steps in transition, because I've been on hormones for a while now. And she had asked what my next step was, and I said, you know, I want to do top surgery next. And at first, she was like looking at everything. She didn't think she could write me a letter until the end of summer to refer me to a surgeon. But like the next time I went in, we talked about it again. She's like, oh no, I can write you a letter sooner. So I have a consultation booked with Dr. Costas out in Concord, Mass for top surgery, and that's on June 18th. So it's still kind of really surreal to me that this is happening so soon. I thought it was going to be something that would have to happen years in the future, but we found out that my mom's insurance will cover it, etc., etc. And so like, that could be happening by the end of summer. I don't know what the timeline sort of thing or how busy he is or anything like that is, but it's really nerve-wracking for me because I've never like had surgery before. Like I've had anesthesia before for dental procedures, but I haven't had like my body touched before, and I'm very nervous about the recovery process, and I'm very nervous about having to like find the time to fit it in and changing my work schedule and taking a week off of work and all of that sort of stuff. But like in the end, I don't know, it's just this is gonna happen. I'm really excited. And I'm hoping to get it done because my boyfriend and my best friend and I are talking about getting an apartment, hopefully by the end of summer, early fall. It's gonna depend on if we can find a place and what our budget is like at the time, etc., etc. But as long as I would love to get my surgery done by then, so that it's one less thing to worry about after we have a new place, and we can focus on those bills, etc., etc. I've been saying etc., etc. so much, but I'm just trying to get through everything, and like I finally just gotten through everything that's on my little list that I have written in front of me, and I'm already over 11 minutes. So, right, 10 months on testosterone yesterday. Top surgery coming up. I'm hoping to remember to have the time to, etc. Do videos that relate a little more to the top surgery as that process goes on, so people can know about that and know how that goes for me, because I know that people look through videos for stuff like that. Oh, I also wanted to mention the fact that I logged back in to watch my last video, and I had 45 subscribers. Where did you all come from? Thank you. I remember having like 12 subscribers the last time I looked at this, so I guess some people are interested in these videos after all. So I hope I didn't ramble too much. If you guys have any questions, want me to clarify anything, then please feel free to ask, and I will address them in my next video, or even just in a response to your comment. So for now, because this is already over 12 minutes, I'm going to sign off, and I will see you next time.